Obligatory, I do not agree with any of my parents' actions and very much resent them for putting myself and my siblings through this. Also, this is Illinois. So, my dad had a relationship with this woman, let's call her Mary, for about a year now, under the guise of her being a friend. My parents are both in their 60s, and my mom didn't really care as she thought it was innocent since this woman knew my dad was married and has 4 kids. My mom even offered to invite her over for dinner on more than one occasion. Recently, my mom started to notice he's gotten even closer to Mary. They constantly call each other and talk throughout the day, go out for food often, and she even bought him a lot of expensive gifts. They've gotten into a lot of fights over this, but my mom refuses to leave him and decided she'd be fine if he would just leave Mary. She got him to end it with Mary, which ended horribly, with Mary calling 50+ times a day off of a private number, saying she wants all the money she ever spent on him back. He said no and changed his number. Now, in an attempt to contact him, she started harassing my siblings and I. She even found out where I work and called them. She got on the phone with my boss, telling him that my father owes her money and hasn't been returning her calls, and for my boss to give me her number to get in touch with her. I am so incredibly embarrassed, and I don't even know how she found out where I work. I really don't know what to do here. My parents won't listen to reason and just want to pretend like nothing happened and think it'll all go away. But now it's affecting my siblings and I. What are my options? I know Mary is very well off financially, while my family is not. She also knows where we all live and work. Can I get a restraining order for her so she could stop harassing my siblings and contacting my place of work? Does she have grounds to sue my family for the money she paid for gifts she previously bought for my dad? Thanks in advance. In my state, you could get a civil anti-harassment protection order against this woman. However, a protection order only covers the person who has filed the petition, with certain exemptions, so your siblings would have to go file their own protection orders. To help strengthen your case, be sure to document all attempts to contact by this woman. As for whether this woman can sue your family, she certainly can sue your family. The more appropriate question is whether she has a valid basis to do so. Trying to retrieve a gift is probably not a valid case, but you cannot simply ignore a lawsuit. However, she probably is just saber-rattling and will not actually sue. My sister thought I was the favorite kid growing up and resented me for that. I think that set the tone for the rest of our relationship into adulthood. Over the years, she's grown into a high-strung, controlling, and manipulative individual. Watching other siblings be as close as they were and not understanding why she resented me made me spend years of my life making an effort to be a part of her life, to help out, to be there when she needed me, and support her through some crappy situations. Still, no matter how hard I tried, she ended up doing some backhanded stuff for her own personal gain, as though I was nothing. The most recent event was the straw that broke the camel's back. My husband is a contractor, and work was very sparse. We were struggling with money, and my sister was trying to flip a house on a budget. She asked my husband if he would do a large amount of work for her at a family price and pay us when the house closed because she couldn't afford to pay another contractor in the timeline that they wanted to get paid. My husband had no job scheduled, and we really needed the money, so he took the deal and gave her all the work for half of normal cost. We involved subcontractors and had to pay them out of our pocket up front to get the job done on time, relying on the fact that my sister would pay us the agreed amount. The work finally finished, and at the time, she loved it, and we didn't hear anything about it. She finally found a buyer for the house and set a closing date. 2 weeks prior to closing, she texted us and said she was unsatisfied with the work and that she would be paying us less than half of the agreed amount. We went back and forth for quite a bit with the first reaction, asking her to show us the issues and let us fix them. She told us that she wasn't even willing to do that because before ever having told us that she wasn't satisfied, she got another contractor to fix the issues and she was taking it out of our agreed amount. She made it very clear that she was not going to pay us or come to an agreement. Luckily, she signed a contract, and I started the process to put a contractor's lien on the house out of a desperation to get our money back. Remember, we had already paid the subs for their work. She then called my dad with a sob story and told him that my husband did crappy work and that I was suing her for money now and I was being greedy. Knowing my situation and that my husband doesn't do crappy work, my dad convinced me not to execute the lien on her house and he'd pay me the money she shorted me. Good job, sis. You won. You got to short your younger sister struggling for money out of thousands so you could make more money on your house flip. You did it. I took my money from Dad and decided that I was no longer going to allow my sister to continue doing duck stuff to me and disrespecting me and my husband. If she wanted to reach out and invite me back into her life and prove that she's changed, I'd be open to it. But I'm tired of getting burned every time I get near her with a 10-foot pole. We're cordial and family events, but that's about it. I don't want that negativity in my life anymore. And when I have kids, I don't want that to be an example for things that are okay to do. Instead of reaching out to me and doing any of the sort, she's reaching out to my family and is feeding them sob stories that I abandoned her and I don't want to be a part of her life, and I'm taking my anger out on her kids by not seeing them. My family has been listening and telling me that I'm holding a grudge and I need to let it go and reach out to her, but I don't see why I should. Should I just listen to them to keep a peace that was never there? Or continue doing what I feel is best for me, my relationship, and my mental health, despite the fact that she becomes a conversation every time I talk to my parents? Am I doing something wrong by protecting myself this way? If she was a friend instead of a sister, no one would have thought twice about what I'm doing now. A lot of people hold family above anything else. But just because someone is blood doesn't mean that they are a good person or good to have around. I actually think you're handling it very well. You've distanced yourself from her and you're not refusing to be in the same room. What you don't want to do is become too closed off or punish the rest of the family, making them choose which one of you comes to an event because of your beef with your sister. It sounds like you're telling the family that it's up to your sister to repair the relationship she broke. She should. She was in the wrong for shortchanging you. She should have come to you or your husband if there was a problem. And being that it's family, you pay them anyway and then never hire them again if there really is a problem with the work. I'm 28 male. My sister left home on her 18th birthday. She made my parents drive 3 hours away to get her a cake from a specific bakery. By the time they had come back, she had taken her stuff and left. She had gone with a guy who was 13 years older than her, the son of one of my dad's clients. After she left, my parents went through all the stuff she had left behind. They found old cell phones, journals. Her and this guy had been together for a long time before she turned 18. She lied and hid a lot. She had been pregnant when she was 16, but got rid of it. He had taken her on vacations they had no idea about because she had said she was going on school trips. My parents talked to the police and lawyers. By the time anything happened, my sister had married this guy. Nobody was touching the case. He cut my sister off. Nobody heard from her or him for years. Last week, my mom got a call from this guy's mom saying my sister had been in a car accident and it looked touch and go. We flew out to see her, but we didn't make it in time. We didn't know it, but my sister had kids with this guy. A almost 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a baby. This guy said we could have a relationship with these kids. We could come to visit them, call them, have them come to visit us. But that means being civil to this guy and having any sort of relationship with him, even if it was just basic communication. I don't know if I can do that. My dad doesn't either. My mom has begged us. I want to, but I just don't know if I can. The thing to bear in mind is that your sister was likely groomed and manipulated by this guy. Hence the running away, lies, cutting contact, etc. She was very young when she got involved with this. This guy is a real piece of work for this. The fact that your parents drove 3 hours for a cake speaks volumes of how much they care for their kids. You should have a relationship with these kids. Don't let this piece of crap have the last remaining part of her after already stealing her from you and your family. Also, I don't know how much of a good idea this is, but going based on the age of the 6-year-old and your sister, she was pregnant underage. You could possibly get this guy for being involved with a minor. Update. I'm not in a good place right now, But when I wrote that post, I was even worse. Everything seems like one massive messed up blur. I relapsed for the first time in years. I blew up the only positive relationship I've ever had in my life. It's been a crap time. But I did work things through, and ultimately, right now, there's no damn way I could be civil to him, or even just decent to him. It was hard enough having to look at his ducking face during the funeral. The kids looked exactly like him. The oldest is basically a clone. The baby almost looks like my sister, though. I told my mom if the kids come to visit her, I'll swing by. Bring them ice cream or something, as long as he's not there. She said she's trying to work out getting long stays. She'll come to get the kids, or he'll drop them off, and then leave them there for a few weeks. Probably not doable until they're older, but who knows? But I told my mom to go for it. Try to get to know them as much as she wants. If she can deal with seeing him and talking to him all the time, good for her. But I can't. My sister, 22 female, has been dating 34 male for a while. He asked her to marry him at my cousin's wedding, not in private, in front of everyone. It wasn't super awkward because I guess a lot of people thought this was previously agreed upon by my cousin. And to avoid drama, she and her new husband played it cool, but afterwards, they were pissed off. It started a huge fight between my aunt, who thought my sister's now fiancé owes my cousin an apology, and my mom, who thinks my aunt is acting like a bee and should be happy for my sister. As a bit of backstory, my mom and dad have been separated for years. I live with my dad, who lives next door to his sister, my aunt, so I've always been really close to them. My sister lived with my mom and my mom's boyfriend, but I still do have a somewhat close relationship with the two of them. My sister asked me to be a bridesmaid in her wedding. My aunt and cousin said that I shouldn't be a bridesmaid in the wedding and support it because of the things my mom and sister said about the family while they were fighting, and because of how my sister and her fiancé put all of the attention on themselves at her wedding. If I agree to be a bridesmaid, my cousins and aunt will be mad at me. But if I don't, my mom and sister will be mad at me. I don't know what to do. Help! I'm sorry. This is super unfair of all of them. What about what you want? Which of the adults in your life are respectful of your wishes? I'd say don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. To be honest, being a bridesmaid is an honor, sure, but it's also stressful and a burden to be under. I would not stand up, be a bridesmaid, for my sister if she was marrying someone like that. The age gap is a huge red flag, and you've recognized abusive behavior. Don't make it about someone else's wedding, but how uncomfortable you are with her partner. That you love her and want a relationship, but don't want to touch this wedding. It's about your boundaries, no one else's. Ultimately, I decided that I didn't want to be a bridesmaid in the wedding, but not because I saw taking my aunt and cousin's side over my mom and sister, but because I really don't like my sister's fiancé, 34 male. And I don't want to have to fake being excited at things like the bridal shower and bachelorette party. I think he's mean and controlling. He talks over her and expects her to stay at home all the time and never hang out with his friends, but he goes out after work all the time. I've already told my sister I didn't think they were a good match, and I didn't think he respected her, and she was just like, "Oh no, he does respect me. This is just the way he is sometime when he's in social settings." I don't know enough about psychology to know if social anxiety can turn someone into an a-hole or not. But I just trusted that my sister knows him better than I do, and that she did see a different side of him. But that was a while ago, and I really haven't seen anything more than more problematic behavior. And I told my sister that when I told her I was declining being a bridesmaid. I also pointed out that I was too young to drink. I really can't afford an expensive dress or to contribute much to any parties or anything. This conversation was over the phone. I was at work, and she was just like, "Oh, okay, bye," and then hung up. By the time I finished work, I checked my phone, and my mom had called me about 100 times, leaving so many voicemails there wasn't any room left, and left me a bunch of texts saying that I was an unsupportive sister. I should be ashamed of myself for abandoning my sister like this. I didn't understand how well her fiancé takes care of her, etc. I really just don't want anything to do with the drama, so they've made it clear they don't want to talk to me. Sister blocked me on everything, Mom is just talking bad about me to everyone. So I'm not going to talk to them. I hope my sister ends up not marrying her fiancé, though. My wife and I married straight out of college. Our daughter is the oldest. We also have a 25 male, 22 female, and a 16 male. Our daughter broke up with her high school and college sweetheart when she was 21, and he was 22, because he was working at least 70 hours a week at his banking job. I feel my wife never got over it. My daughter started dating a guy that my wife didn't like because she felt my daughter loved him way more than he loved her. They had their first child together, 8 female, soon after, but only got married after the birth of their second child, 6 female. My wife started to like him more because of the grandkids. However, he cheated multiple times, bounced between jobs due to how irresponsible he was, and my daughter finally filed for divorce because she found out he had been taking out thousands in her name. Now, her landlord is saying the CDC eviction moratorium does not apply to them since their property isn't HUD-backed and had her served. However, my wife is angry she didn't stick it out and blamed her for making a bad decision in partners and expecting others to suffer for it. Therefore, when she caught our son using Venmo to give his sister some money, she suspended his allowance. She also said that she would be watching our bank account. She's also mad about the fact that my daughter's college sweetheart is now a VP at a private equity firm who is at the Hamptons every summer and got engaged to his fiancée, 25 female. Basically, she has put a freeze on any assistance to my daughter. I text my daughter regularly, but I feel like I'm basically doing what cheaters do with their phones. My wife even threatened that she'd take our son and leave for her mother's house if I sent aid. What do I do? My 25-year-old has been telling us to just withdraw a bit of cash for whatever, and then he'll send it to his sister. The hell? Your wife sounds, from the limited information here, really darn controlling. So controlling that she is making you feel like a cheater for talking to your daughter, who is getting out of an abusive relationship. Time for you to sit down with your wife and tell her that your daughter is your daughter, your grandkids are your grandkids, and you are going to be there for them, no matter what. Tell her that daughter's relationship choices are not in any way her decisions, or something that is meant to make her suffer. Tell her that she has absolutely zero right to punish your other children for acting like concerned family members. You need to stand up to your wife.